Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the City Council meeting of the City of Lenoir for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. We welcome you here this evening, and we'll go ahead and get started. As we normally do, we will have a moment of silence, and then we will remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. As we go to our time for a moment of silence, we would ask you, if you will, please keep the family of our lost firefighter or retired firefighter, Gary Sanders, who was tragically killed this past weekend in a motorcycle accident. Gary was a great friend to many of us and will be missed, not only by his family, but by the community. Gary was a great volunteer, worked in the firefighting industry for many years, not only with Lenoir, but with Gamewell and Valmead. He was part of the Valmead department also, and Gary, we will miss Gary. So please keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. And also please keep Rex Cannon, our own Shirley Cannon's husband, who is recovering but has been in and out of the hospital now for several days. And we hope that they will continue to find out what's going on with Rex, and we'll keep Shirley and her family in our thoughts and prayers also. So if you will, please join us now for a moment of silence and a Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight, first we have on our agenda a special recognition for Fair Housing Month, and I would ask Ms. Lauren Hart from the Catawba Valley Realtors Association to come up and accept the proclamation for Fair Housing Month throughout the city of Lenoir and Caldwell County. And I will read this. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. Fair Housing Month proclamation. Whereas April 11, 2018 marks the 50th anniversary of the passage of the United States Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, familial status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the Catawba Valley Association of Realtors is committed to highlighting the Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 by continuing to address discrimination in our community, supporting programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and planning partnership efforts with other organizations to help assure every American of their right to fair housing. Now, therefore, I, as mayor of the city of Lenoir, and on behalf of the Lenoir City Council, do hereby resolve that April 2018, being Fair Housing Month, begins a year-long commemoration of the U.S. Fair Housing Law in the city of Lenoir, and urge all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize this celebration throughout the year. Adopted this the third day of April 2018.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll get a picture.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
If you'd
you.
like to say anything.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I'll leave this right here.
All right. Thank you so much, the City of Lenoir, on behalf of the Catawba Valley Association of Realtors, for all that you do to continue to promote fair housing and homeownership. Briefly, I'll give you a quick snapshot of the market. Rates right now have stabilized. Loan applications increased 4.8% last week. The average price of sold homes in the month of February in Lenoir was $148,500, and in March it was $132,300. Wow. So demand continues to be really high. Our only problem right now is really low inventory, so we need more inventory in the market. But just want to say thank you again for all that you do on behalf of the Catawba Valley Association of Realtors.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
That's true. Yeah, we do. We have a meeting tomorrow that we'd love to give you that report to for those people. So we'll remember that. Thank you. We are working on housing. It's one of our priorities in our city and county for sure. Okay, we'll move on then to our annual report from our police department and our chief of police, Mr. Scott Brown.
I like that intro. Can you do that one more time? Mayor, members of council, thank you so much for giving me just a few minutes. You know, I went back and I was reviewing the annual report presentations for you guys over the last several years, and I noticed they were 35 slides long. And I thought, bless your heart, I can't believe they haven't run me out. So this one is 11. I promise to go much more quickly.
You're going out with a bang, aren't you?
It's amazing what a year and a retirement date can do for you. But I do want to emphasize to those who may be watching at home, the full report is 36 pages long, and it's online, available at cityoflenoir.com/police. So there's a lot of very, very interesting reading there. We're passionate about it, but I understand if not everybody is. Very excited to report our Part 1 property crime for 2017 dropped 6%, lowest since 2007. I was very, very excited about that. And that's, I was bragging on our people. We worked shorthanded all year last year. You've heard the challenges we have with recruitment and retention. So to see that Part 1 crime rate be as low as it's been since 2007, that was very impressive. Part 1 violent crime is always relatively low for Lenoir, and that's something we're happy about. We saw a 6% decrease in 2017. However, last year, if you recall, we had a significant increase of 31%. So that 6% drop is not as significant as we want, but we're relatively pleased with that. This is where we go into some statistics. Captain Phelps will tell you I'm a numbers guy. And really, we don't sell anything. The manager talks about our major product is customer service, and we take that very seriously. But to be able to measure our effectiveness, these numbers matter. Our communications center last year answered a little over 37,000 phone calls and over 5,000 911 calls, processed over 43,000 CAD calls. And keep in mind, that's 2 dispatchers 24 hours a day. That's only 2. That's a busy group, and we're very proud of the work that they do. Our patrol division, we're involved in about 43,000 police activities total, 25,000 calls for service. I'm particularly proud of the 3,685 call follow-ups. That shows that our guys aren't stopping with incident reports. They're following up and following through with cases that may not be assigned to investigations. Our investigations division investigated 1,285 criminal cases, 419 nuisance cases. And I'm sure Jenny recognizes what a significant number that is. But when we took over code enforcement back several years ago, Ty Lee, Detective Lee, and everybody in this room is familiar with Ty, it just does a phenomenal job. He issued 991 civil citations last year for nuisance violation and has a 78.4% owner abatement rate. So he's just doing a phenomenal job. If we had 5 people like that, I don't know, we may all be unemployed, but this town would look a little differently. Our investigations division took in a little over 3,000 items of evidence last year. That puts our current inventory at 35,528 items of evidence that we're responsible for 24 hours a day.
Can all that be stored? Do you have to have alternate sites for storage, or?
No, we've got enough. Room? Well, I say we've got enough. We can always use more, but it's some creative storage tactics that our evidence techs utilize. Criminal charges, a little over 3,600 felony and misdemeanor charges, 468 drug-related and 159 alcohol-related criminal charges for the Patrol Land Investigations Division. Traffic, this is something that's always interesting to the public. Our overall crashes were down a little bit, but our personal injury crashes were down 20%, and that's what we shoot for. We don't, we'll never be able to eliminate traffic crashes, but if we can minimize the personal injuries, that's significant. Almost 4,700 vehicle stops, almost 3,400 traffic charges, and almost 1,500 warnings. That's a pretty good ratio. We're happy with that. Seized and recovered, we recovered a little over $300,000 worth of stolen property. I wish that number were doubled, but that's pretty significant. So we're at about 35% recovery rate on our stolen property, and that's pretty good. I'll put our numbers up with anybody. A little over $177,000 in illegal drugs and $183,000 in drug-related cash and property. Other investigations, this is where it gets into, it's not the best of news. We had 55 drug overdoses last year. We had 30 in 2016. We had one death in 16, 3 last year. One of the things that makes us feel good about what we're doing as a police department, we utilized naloxone or Narcan 18 times last year and saved 15 lives. So that's significant. I would love to be able to report that we didn't have to use Narcan at all, but the fact that you supported us when we implemented that, the state has supported us with that through legislation and funding. We were able to save 15 lives last year, so I'm proud of that. A lot of the administrative work with backgrounds and ABC permits, Captain Stilwell was able to coordinate 401 Crime Stoppers tips. As you know, we coordinate the Crime Stoppers program for all of Caldwell County, and so that's something we're very proud of. Use of force incidents, we had 57 cases reported last year. That sounds like a lot for a town our size, but if you look at 43,000 documented citizen contacts, that's not too bad. No significant officer injury or suspect injury, so that's very important. 502 extra duty projects. Kaylin Horn keeps us very, very busy. A little over 3,600 man hours, and that's equal to about 1.7 full-time police officers.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about
Yes,
the
please.
overdoses?
Yes, please.
In that increase that you see from the previous year, do you see that as opioids or meth?
Oh, yes.
So it's
Yeah.
primarily an opioid
Primarily opioid.
increase?
Yep.
Okay,
All 3 deaths were opiate related.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
12,000 structured training hours. Our training staff and Captain Phelps, they do a phenomenal job keeping us up to speed on everything we need to be aware of. That's just a quick snapshot of all the things we're involved in. One of the things that makes me most proud of this city and this department is our community involvement. We recognize the value of community partnerships, and I think we're probably as active as we can possibly be with the staffing that we have. Very, very proud of this. This is something that's been a goal of mine and of ours for a number of years. We made the National Council for Home and Safety and Security list of safest cities in North Carolina. Wish we were ranked number 1 or 2. We're 4th safest among cities of 16 to 20,000, 26th safest by violent crime index, and 40th safest by property crime index. There have been more years than not since I've been in a command position that we haven't made the list at all. So I'm very, very proud to be able to put that seal on our website and our Facebook page.
Great.
Can't stand in front of a crowd without doing some recruitment. If there's anybody out there listening, anybody that you're aware of that would love to work for a progressive, professional law enforcement agency that treats their employees like family, we would love to hear from you. That's our biggest challenge. We've got 4 vacancies as it stands. Captain Wilson and I just went over applications a little while ago, it's just not, it's not a good pool. So if we have anybody that's interested, please send them our way.
This may be a question you can answer, but what is the community college seeing in the enrollment in BLET? How down is that?
Caldwell Community
Or
College.
is that active, but we're just not getting them to come here? What?
Caldwell Community College canceled their BLET class this semester for the first time in 21 years.
Really?
So it's a
I did
significant
have lunch
issue.
with the president today, there are some things getting ready to
Yes,
happen.
yep,
So,
and I think that's going to
good
help.
thing.
But it's a challenge. It's not just a challenge in Lenoir. It's a challenge everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's a great career. It's a tough career. A lot of night shifts, birthdays, holidays. But wow, it's just like anything else. You get out of it what you put into it. So if somebody's interested in a ride along or a chat with the chief, just give us a call. We'll be glad to meet with you. Again, the full report is available online. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for allowing me to do a quick overview this time. And
Any
I apologize
questions?
for the last 5 years. Any
We'll be
questions?
glad to see the 36 pages. I mean, it's good.
No.
Well,
We reviewed
congratulations.
individually.
Congratulations on the great award. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you.
Let's get that on all of our, Mr. Public
Yeah.
Information guy.
I think he's done a good job of getting it out there for us. That's something we're proud of.
Yeah, good. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll move on. We do not have any matters scheduled for public hearing tonight, so we'll move on to our consent agenda items, consisting of minutes from the City Council meeting of Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. Item B is the tax fund releases. This is approval of the submitted tax fund releases for April 2018 in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 105-381. Item C is a bid award for the J.E. Brohill Park Improvements Project. And there's a recommendation that we award the low bid of $68,956.06 to Roy Hall Construction for a new restroom facility at the J.E. Brohill Park. I know we've been working on that pretty hard, Mr. Story has, and looking to put that together. So that's the three items. Any discussion and/or motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Okay. Have a motion from Councilmember Thomas that we approve consent agenda items as presented, A, B, and C. No other discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. That carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-0. Okay. We'll move on then to requested petitions of any citizens. If there's anyone here tonight that would like to address the council, this is the time on our agenda for that. If you'll come forward, give your name and address, we'll be glad to listen to any one. And seeing no one, we'll move on. We do not have any reports of our boards and commissions, so we'll move on to the report and recommendations of the city manager, Mr. Hildebrand.
Mr. Mayor, Council, you have before you tonight a couple items for information. The Foothills Regional Airport Authority will meet tomorrow at noon. That'll be held at the airport. Cruise-in will be held on Saturday, April 7th, beginning at 4 p.m. in downtown Lenoir. The City County Service Committee will meet on Monday, April 9th at 11:45 a.m., and that'll be held at Community College. The Caldwell County EDC will meet on Tuesday, April 10th at 8 a.m., and that'll be held at the Civic Center. The ABC Board will meet on Thursday, April 12th at 2 p.m., and that's going to be held at Lenoir Store Number 1, and that's located at 115 ABC Court. And also, the NCDOT's annual Litter Sweep campaign begins on April 14th, ends on Saturday, April 28th, and all citizens are encouraged to participate. Also, our staff is going to put together Litter-Free Lenoir NC? Yeah. Correct. And that's a contest going to be held, and some prizes will be donated from the community to folks with their Facebook post of picking up refuge or whatever on the side of the road, and they'll work with Mr. Harris on that, but we hope to go back and get a lot of participation. I know that Water Life Church is planning to go back and do a sweep as well to assist on
Is
that.
that the 16th? you were doing something on the 16th or had looked at doing something.
The employee.
The city employees.
City employee volunteers are gonna pick up litter on Monday the 16th.
Will you send out an email to council?
Sure will.
Glad to.
Yeah.
Also, the Park and Recreation Advisory Board will meet on Monday, April 16th, and that'll be at 6 p.m., and that'll be held at Lenoir High School Auditorium. And the Sanitation Division Annual Spring Trash Bash Week will be held on April 16th to the 20th, and we'll be conducting that contest we mentioned earlier, the Litter-Free Lenoir NC. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Hildebrand?
You're going to mention the mayor's prayer breakfast, correct?
I am
Okay.
going to, yes. And I will do that now before we move on. Our annual prayer breakfast for the National Day of Prayer will be held on May the 3rd. This year it will be at the First Baptist Church, and I invite all of you and our council all to be there if you can. We all have a breakfast that morning at 8 o'clock. We have, of course, ministers will be there to pray for our national, state, and local boards and commissioners and all, and council and everybody on that. Also, Mr. John Cooper, the owner of Mass General Store, will be here to be our guest speaker. And he will talk about not only his life with that's Mass General Store and what they've done, but also his work with the Appalachian Theater up there, a project that he's taken on, which, as I've talked to John, would be great, if we could do the same around the Center Theater at some point in time. So he will give us some information on how all that is done too at the breakfast that morning. So invite all of you to be a part of that. Tickets will be on sale soon, and we'll get all that information out as that goes. Mr. City Attorney, anything from you?
No, sir.
Okay. I do have several notifications for upcoming board appointments. First, let me announce again that will have a open seat on our Lenoir Planning Board due to the resignation of Mrs. Maddie Patterson, who has served many years on our planning board, and we certainly will miss her, but she has decided it's time to step down from that. We also have an open seat on our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board due to the resignation of Mr. Lemuel Patterson, and we certainly appreciate Lemuel serving for a number of years with our Parks and Recreation Department. We also have several reappointments that are under consideration, and we will look at these at our April 17th meeting, but that'll be the Lenoir Business Advisory Board, Mrs. Barbara Weiler, and I have talked with Barbara. She is interested in continuing to serve on that board. And to our Board of Adjustments, Mr. James Bradshaw, Mr. Mac Martin, and Mr. Tim Scobie. And as you know, let me explain, of course, the Board of Adjustments is part of the Lenoir Planning Board. Members of the Lenoir Planning Board also serve on the Board of Adjustments. So it's not something that we're out bringing in other people to. We're appointing people from that board to do that. And there will be 2 seats there which will be open, and we'll look at our planning board to bring up 2 of those members to fill those Board of Adjustment seats. One is Merlin Perry's, and one is Maddie Patterson's also. So they will, they're not going to continue serving on the Board of Adjustment. Merlin will remain on the planning board, but not serve on the Board of Adjustment. So we will discuss that and working with Ms. Wheelock on that to get those seats filled in that time. So those are the seats that are open at this time. Now, anything from any of our council members at this time? Okay, we do have a closed session.
Very brief.
Very brief closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11, subsection A, subsection 5, and we'll enter into this we'll discuss property acquisition. Do we expect anything? We don't expect anything to come out of that. So, if nothing else to come before us, we will go into closed session. I need a motion for that.
So move.
Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Willis to go into closed session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Thank you. We're in closed session. You're welcome to stay. If not, we will see you later. Who's that? Oh, yeah, we better catch her.
Catch her.